Stathopoulos and Josh Phegan come together in an incredible podcast, Grow, Scale, Master.
An energetic approach to drive progress, master skills, build strengths, and put the strategy back into rapid business and personal success.
Backed by real-world experience in rapid scaling to playing the long-term game of business, it's the story of all the lessons learned on the journey to mastery.
Be inspired, renew your energy, and chase the future with Grow, Scale, Master.
Con, the conversation today is all about bootstrapping.
Is that how you tie your boots up?
Well, boots don't have laces, mate. Yes. But the interesting thing, bootstrapping is that like literally you got nothing, you got to start it. And, you know, this is a great one. My accountant reminded me the other day. I was might have been complaining about, you know, some extra things she wants me to pay. And I said, and she just said to me, she goes, "Do you remember how much operating capital you started the business on?" And I was like, "Yeah, I had a $50 note." And she's like, "How'd that go for you?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I've turned 50 into a few things."
Yeah.
And I want you to think that like bootstrapping is that unbridled like level of enthusiasm, energy, tenacity, drive, creativity to put everything together and to just have a go.
Yeah.
And to not wait for the perfect moment and get in there and go and make that happen.
Been there.
You're never going to know how far you can go until you go there.
Yeah. It's so cool. It's that startup energy. It's the excitement, but it's also the anxiety and the anticipation, and you know, then it's the reward, and then the nightmare. It's everything all at once. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool, but it's not for everyone.
So, all business success really requires that someone has got to be extreme.
Yes.
Because like going out there to go and make that happen is a really important part, and like you've got to make the decision to do it. And like that extremity is like kind of an interesting one. And I put this up on the socials the other week, but this was a quote by Shane Parrish. He said, you know, success is built in rooms no one would photograph. The people who change things aren't at the parties. They're home on Friday night, obsessed with problems everyone else finds tedious. Their Instagram looks empty because their life isn't shareable. Just the same unsexy routine day after day. They aren't doing anything glamorous. They're just constantly making steady incremental progress over a long period of time. Success makes noise. Building doesn't. That's the paradox. Exceptional looks boring until it suddenly isn't.
That's cool.
And so
it's got a great weekly newsletter as well.
Yeah, FM Farnham. And I start looking at that about the bootstrapping approach. And I said this inadvertently, like as an offhanded comment, and now I really believe it. But there's more systems and standards at 200 transactions a year than at 20.
Yes, of course.
So, maybe not. So at 20 deals, I'm unsure of my process. Maybe if I'm starting out, I don't really necessarily know what I'm doing. I'll take on off market because I think it's a sale method.
I'll take on out of area.
Like, I might not do vendor paid. I might be in a position like, oh no, they just, I don't want to read align pricing. And the interesting thing is that, you know, when you watch like some of the phenomenal operators in this industry, and you know, Nayak's a really great example. Monique Lalune, you know, another great example. What you see that they're very, very clear at is that there's a point in their careers where all of a sudden they get really clear about the standards in their business.
Yes,
you know, we are vendor paid, we are open for inspection, auction
I don't
on
take
average.
Properties like this or a fee or whatever. I totally agree.
And they set some real standards for that.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking that like literally that's interesting when you're thinking about the bootstrap, because at 20, you know, the scarcity. At 200, there's abundance. But literally what the abundance forces you to do is to say, there is abundance because of what I have said no to.
Yes.
That allows me to say yes to being really good for these customers in this way.
You know, it's interesting. I've got that saying internally into our business, particularly with our sales managers, be very mindful of what we say yes to. We're inadvertently saying no to something else.
Sure.
So it might be a recruiter, it might be a strategy or something. And it's more about getting people to think about yes, you can go and do that. That's an easy thing for us to say yes to. Yeah, we can pay for the marketing.
Sure.
That's really easy. But what are you saying actually no to?
Yeah.
Okay, and that could be, you know, a vendor that's overpriced, or that could be you're missing out on a learning moment with an agent to be able to, you know, say you don't need that in your arsenal. So we've definitely gone through the bootstrapping stage. And in some parts of our business, even though it's significantly bigger than what it was 5 years ago, we still behave the same way. Mm-hmm. And that's not because we want to nickel and dime. And you know our business, we're very, very generous with all of our people. But it's also about we have a responsibility to our shareholders, our partners. But also, more importantly, we want to build a business that has longevity and that can survive different market conditions and different life events and stages of people. So you have to be very mindful that if you don't have that bootstrapping mentality, and you don't have that ability to be able to, change tact or strategy when you need to, and you don't keep reimagining that vision, then you're going to get potentially caught out long term.
So this is I just had this foundational belief that I wanted that if anyone ever spent money with us, that it was money really well spent.
Yeah.
They think that they got significant value. And, we had it when the COVID thing had happened, and then instantly no one knew what was going to go on. And we had one customer who came to us straight away, we need a refund immediately because you're not going to be able to do that event. And if everyone wanted a refund immediately, we probably would have gone broke quite quickly because no one knew what was going on at that stage. And it was interesting. I just said to the team, refund it. And they're like, what? And it was interesting because I was just like, provide great service. And, we had an incident today in our business, which was, and it was funny, but it's not. And it was interesting that a client had come through and they'd sent through a message about how their car had been broken into. And when their car was broken into, their bag was taken, and inside of the bag was their blueprint manual.
Yeah.
And they were wondering...
That's why the car was broken in.
No, but get this. And so they were wondering if they could get a replacement blueprint manual.
Yes.
And so I had relayed that to a team member in my team. I said, hey, this is what's going on. And my team member had only heard a part of that story and came back and goes, they broke into the car for the blueprint manual?
Of course they did.
I was like, mate, this thing is so valuable. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I was like, the robber really wanted the scripts. They're particularly keen on those open home callbacks.
Definitely.
But it's an interesting thing because what bootstrapping is that literally, if I don't have money, what would I do? And what are the attributes, or what are the an attitude? A good attitude costs no more.
Yeah.
A great service costs no more.
Yeah.
Being in the zone costs no more. Going for a walk every day costs no more. But I can't be fit because I can't afford the gym. That's a conversation inside of your head. And what you got to think is that the bootstrapping mentality, you got to go after it. And I think that plateaus and complacency breed laziness.
Absolutely, they do.
And so what you got to do is you got to be in a position that you got to be really clear to go after a goal.
Yes.
And if you had interviewed me at week one, or even at month one, or at year one, or even 2 years into running the business, mate, I had no other goal but to just work with lots of people.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a number of coaching sessions or a number of tickets I wanted to
or a revenue or profit.
And I didn't even know what those things were. Or what I wanted to do is I just wanted to help a lot of people. And it led me to really developing a lead indicator. Now this is interesting because the lead indicator can be an obsessive goal that you become about. So I don't overly need to look at a lot of things, but I know whether or not the business is successful. And one of the earliest lead indicators I look at is there an available time in my calendar? And if there's an available time in my calendar, I haven't done my job.
Yeah, you haven't sold that space.
So I've got to sell that space.
Yeah.
And so and I don't have to often, but someone was asking me to fit something in the other day, and I was looking, I'm like, it's either that one or that one, and else.
That's
it's 2027. And the thing about that is I've done my job. And so I think, for you and maybe when you work with your sales managers, do you do that? Do you say, is it number of auctions ahead?
Absolutely, 100%. So for us, it's stock.
Right. So how many listings currently on the website?
Correct. How many listings?
TWL.
Yep.
Total listings, TLO. Total listings on website.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So
number of auctions
live.
ahead.
Yeah. Auctions. What's listed, not launched.
Opens this Saturday.
Absolutely. All the vital statistics that you would expect. 100%.
Agents coming to training.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, definitely.
And so sometimes you just choose one. So when I'm working with the emerging agents in your team, I'm like, get me to 5 opens on a Saturday. You've got a great business.
That's exactly right.
5 opens every Saturday.
Yeah, correct. So it's making sure that they're going after the one thing and making the one thing the main thing.
And does that lead to greatness?
I think so. I think if you have a look at all the greats, they are they're not slightly, they're obsessed. Mm-hmm. They're obsessed at, whether they're athletes or business people, they're obsessed about solving problems. They're obsessed about winning championships. Mm-hmm. They're obsessed about, being the best version of themselves. So does that give you an indicator or the propensity for someone to be successful? Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sometimes it takes me a little while to figure things out.
Me too.
I'm not sure if you've
That's why we're on a podcast.
Right, so I'm going to tell you a story.
Oh, here we go.
So I'd read the story about Pixar. And how they'd made Toy Story.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they did is that they had a certain number of days and they had to produce the film because they only had a certain budget. So every day was a certain amount of money.
Yeah, so cash burn. They didn't want to go through a cash burn.
But they probably didn't know that was a term. So what they did is they got paddle pop sticks. And so they laid out all these paddle pop sticks, and every day was equal to a day of production.
Gotcha.
So all of a sudden, if they burnt 10 paddle pop sticks, so they burnt 10 days on a scene that should have been a day, that was going to become a big problem if that continued.
Yeah.
And so I thought this was great. I love this concept. So there I am. I'm in the car and I roll down to Spotlight. And I get to Spotlight and I buy like a bag of paddle pop sticks.
Yeah,
because you can buy them.
Yeah.
It's like a craft. It's a craft store if you haven't been.
I've been.
So I get there and I bring them back. And I had this goal, and at the time it was like, I need to have 10 coaching clients a week.
Got ya.
So what I did is I put 10 paddle pop sticks on the right side of the table. And then what I did is that every single time I would speak to someone, have a conversation with someone that I thought was going to be a prospect, I would write their name on the paddle pop stick.
Okay.
And this must have looked mad. My dad walked into my home office, aka my bedroom at the time, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to move the paddle pop sticks from the right side of the table to the left side of the table.
Yep.
And he's like, and how do you do that? I make a sale. And then Dad got it.
Yeah, he got it.
But when the first part of that, he was like, I think he's lost it. But like, it was unbelievable because the bootstrapping idea is that literally I have nothing else to do but to do this.
So this is my big thing. I reckon focus is a superpower today. Just the ability, like you look at Jamie Benjamin, one of our good mates.
Unbelievable guy.
So 8:30 to 11:30, you can't get a meeting with him. It's just impossible because he's prospecting. He's that committed and that obsessed about making sure that he does that. I reckon this is where people do become complacent or hit plateaus, is they lose the focus over what's really important. And sometimes, what got us to a level of certain success, we forget all those steps about what it took to get to that stage.
Of
we
course.
take it for granted.
And the thing about it is that, like, people look at it, oh yeah, that's just cool on Instagram. No, like, mate, like, pioneers are forced to push through.
Absolutely.
And like I'm going to say, mate, I wasn't going to coaches school, but I had to learn how to do it.
Yeah, correct.
And
don't they say that, every overnight success story is 10 years in the making anyway?
Yeah, but like also too, when you're establishing a business model that hasn't been established before.
You're correct.
Like, that's a new thing.
You're right. I completely agree with that.
Experiences that rapidly shaped you.
So, Con, we had an evolve or die moment in our business.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And so that was like how do we go from CDs?
Because you were doing CDs.
You were doing CDs.
Yeah, right.
And we used to make money out of that.
Yeah, right.
And that was important because it funded other things in the business. And then to digital streaming. And to this day, as far as I'm aware, the only coaching business that has an iOS and an Android app where you can stream and download all of the audio, all the video content. And we've had that for over a decade.
Yeah, wow.
So as you drive along, it's like Spotify, press play.
Yeah.
Like if you're on an airplane, press play.
Yeah.
Like, because it's, it's got airplane mode and you can just, play the downloadable content. And it's like literally, there are people go, oh yeah, we've got content, but you got to go to a website. Well, good luck with that. So we actually built that. And that whole conversation around really thinking through that sometimes you are going to come to an intersection and you don't know which way to go. But if you're a bootstrapper, you're just going to back yourself in and have a crack.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the most important lesson that I learned in business is that you will face many moments like that inside of your business.
Yeah, totally. It's one idea or experience that's rapidly shaping me is I've got a performance doctor. And I get a monthly performance summary. So I've got my Aura ring and I've got, the special scales and I've got a blood pressure machine and all that type of stuff. Guys, I am an athlete. Just so everyone knows at home, right? Built like a Greek god. It's, it's funny. It's amazing. But
you're not going to the Olympics. Weird.
Oh, no. I'm a bit old. Maybe I've got to go to the Masters, right? But what was really interesting? I took a moment, I looked at that and I was like, okay, I've got my whole current state right in front of me. When was the last time someone either did that for their health or their financial health?
Yes.
Because we do business plans and I've got to do this many appointments and calls and connects and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And I think we're missing such a big opportunity here because A, if you're not fit and healthy, you can't have longevity on this planet. But B, like, who's going to take responsibility for the way that you retire and how you retire? Only you can. And if you're not mapping that out, and I know Phil, our good friend Phil Harris, has that personal P&L and balance sheet that he does with, Jen. I think it's such a critical part of what we should be doing and we should be really coaching people for that.
Something that's changing your view.
Con, there was a slide and you were there at Blueprint this year, but it was a bit of a haunting one for a few people and it said, buy time, not status.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, that was haunting.
Because I had a friend recently that, we got to catch up and have lunch, and we only see each other every 3 to 5 years. And I had this chat with her, and I said, tell me about life and whatever, and doesn't have a car anymore, and like operates inside of a unbelievable building which has got all the gym already built in, so she doesn't have to travel, and literally work is 1.5 k's away, so I can just walk there every day, and all those types of things that go on. And it just made me think that Australia is a very status driven society.
Yes.
And so and social media is a very status driven society. But yet, like, literally when you're in the hospital, like, man, at the end of the day, your ability to breathe.
Oh, mate. What would you prefer? Would you prefer, all the money that you can possibly have, or would you prefer to have longevity on this planet?
Yeah, with people that you love.
That's exactly right. I totally agree with that. And that was a haunting one. And I remember looking around the room. Robin Banks did this at ARIC as well, remember? Mm-hmm. His last statement was, everyone stand up, put your hand on your heart, feel your heartbeat, and just remember you're not guaranteed another one. Mm-hmm. And I think you've nailed that one there. Mm-hmm.